Now his own people are turning on, even his son. Now, how about that, Randall? I mean, you're looking. You've had these people. We've tried to promote the right people here, and that they've turned on us. I mean, Rand Paul certainly turned into Romney. Ron Paul being friendly to Romney. It makes me wonder, and I believe we had somebody do an article about this that says Ron Paul was never supposed to be our savior. He was the distraction for the patriots that were waking up. Now, I don't know if that's true. I know Ron Paul. He was a subscriber of mine for years. You know, I think he's got all the best intentions, but he rarely mentions Israel. He doesn't deal with this, and we've got the charters up on the Federal Reserve next year. Why isn't anybody talking about that?
Yeah, that should be a campaign issue, shouldn't it?
It should. I mean, we're sending billions of dollars to Israel and every other country out there. My God. We are.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's and I wonder about the Rand Paul. I was hoping that we'd find out, at least through the rumor mill, something that you know, somebody says, well, you know, they threatened his family, they threatened to throw him off a committee or whatever. You know, there had to be some kind of pressure that Rand Paul had to go against his dad, not for Romney only, but even against his dad. That's a close family. And you've met him. I've met the whole family in San Antonio, and I've met Ron Paul several times. He's been a speaker at Truth Seekers, and you know, he's the real deal. I know, well, you know Jake Wade, and he's even spoke at his little old small country church. You know, he
by the way, I'm a deacon now at Jake Wade's church. I just talked with his other pastor over there. You know, I'm going to a church that's mostly black. The folks that are going to the church have been following this black preacher that Jake's working with, and nicest people you'd ever want to meet. I mean, really intent. They really study the Bible. They really hang on Jake's words. And I told him, you know, guys, I'm supposed to be a racist here. I don't think they believe it. I don't think they're buying into it.
Yep, that's right.
You know, now this one of my people on the chat room. He made an interesting thing. He said Lucifer is a Jewish fable. They use it to project and blame Jewish criminality on. Actually, that's the essence of the book I wrote 50 years ago, and I'm now redoing that. But he also said Ron Paul kept people from hanging bankers and politicians until the Jewish-controlled police grid was fully operational. You know, and basically that's what it is. I mean, we can't go hang the politicians because Ron Paul's one of them, you know?
Right. Well, it's a deplorable situation that the international bankers are controlling both the Democrat and the Republican Party, and gosh, you know, the way they probably even control the Libertarian Party too, in some way.
Well, they did. They infiltrated the Libertarian Party because this whole everything the Libertarian Party says makes sense, except open borders, open our borders.
Right.
So whenever that got into the Libertarian Party platform, that was your traitor. That was And they wouldn't even allow me to speak years ago at a Libertarian convention when I was publishing the Free American.
But yeah, that's, you know, you wonder about that, and of course, there was some people that Ron Paul couldn't have at his event there because they weren't sure of him, you know, and it is a difficult thing to cut, you know, to say, okay, here's this is a good guy, this one isn't, and then you've got snakes in the grass that are running the party themselves or the campaign, and so it's hard to know who to trust anymore. But you know, all you can do is trust in the Lord.
Yeah, and that's been subverted too. Jake Wade, my pastor and dean of Timothy Bible College, calls it religiosity. They're not following the words of Jesus. They're not following the advice in the Bible. You know, they're following religiosity, trying to keep you in line, and that's what what religions have been about before the politics came into full play. That was about the control.
Yep.
And the Libertarian Party is still the best answer. The novels I wrote in prison, doing time in prison for pot, you know, and today we got 16 states where you can walk around and smoke it on the street and not go to jail if you got your doctor's permission, which is still not where it's supposed to be. But Gary Johnson running on the Libertarian ticket. Now think about this for just a second. I've told people now, you know, part of the problem is the media. They don't call television programming for nothing. They're really clear in what they do. And here you've got Mitt Romney, whose biggest complaint, you know, the biggest complaint they got against him is, well, he's stashing money in the Cayman Islands. Of course, he runs Bain Capital, which owns Clear Channel. So you've got a man running for president, and it's only the Rush Limbaughs and the Michael Savages and the people that are broadcasting to the mainstream America. The only thing Clear Channel is telling you about is Mitt Romney. Now, there's something wrong with that picture. I mean, if you got enough money, you can obviously buy the presidency, can't you?
And then the question is why? Why would they want to buy the presidency? And of course, then that must be to make more money.
That's right.
So, I don't think that Romney cares anything at all about the American way, the American Constitution, or the American people. And you know, he's a globalist, he's an internationalist, and that's where I guess his primary concern is the church. And the Mormon Church, I'm just not sure of. There's a lot of good people in the Mormon Church, but I'm not sure that the leadership is good. So anyway, that's where I stand on Romney. I will vote for Gary Johnson. Other than Ron Paul on the Republican ticket, I'm going for Gary Johnson on the Libertarian ticket.
Now, did you get to hear? Did you actually get to hear Ron Paul at any of these Ron Paul events?
Oh yes, yeah. We called him. I'll get you a copy. We're going to start downloading that today. We hope that everything is good in the computer. We recorded it digitally in the computer, and we're going to be looking at putting that down. We'll try to find a copy of just his presentation.
Who else spoke there?
And
who else spoke at these secondary events?
Well, basically, he was. Ron Paul was saying more or less the same thing that he has said before, he was the final speaker at his event, which was Sunday afternoon, just ahead of the welcoming at the Tropicana deal at the Tropicana Bowl, I guess, in St. Pete. And then we were to go down to a second Ron Paul event at Fad's, the sports bar, which Jimmy Vaughn was going to play, and the little lady, gosh, I'm trying to think of her name. She sings Ron Paul music. Right now, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I said it this morning, but now I've lost it. But anyway, Amy Allen, that's it. She is great. She's got all right, that'd be great. Yeah, and ride your hard bike up here.
Yep. And maybe I'll even bring the boys.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's see. I don't know if that restaurant will let the boys in. I've got.
Oh, they have to. It's only a misdemeanor to refuse me service in any restaurant.
Well, I was taking my little pup. You've met my little one, and they finally told me that the health department that they asked the health department, and they said no way, you know. But
well, actually, the health department has the feds, the Americans with Disabilities Act, trumps the state complaints about dogs in there. So service animals can come into restaurants nationwide. But at any rate,
anyhow, we'll see about that. But anyhow, basically, Ron Paul's message was the same. You know, it's the Constitution, and it's the people, and it's good people. He didn't change anything because, gosh, how can he change it? Just because the Republican Party is a bunch of turds, he can't.
Something good. And then I hear Sarah Palin, Songbird McCain's running mate, talking about bombing Iran. I mean, you know, who would Jesus bomb today?
Right. That's it exactly. And yeah, what happened is, I think it.
Same thing, you know, undercover communists.
Right.
I mean, come on, guys. You know, what part is it? Why is it so hard to understand for the average people what we're talking about? Why we're patriots? Why we do this? Why we, you know, when the media is attacking us, when the media has tried to make veterans, first of all, they demonized us for doing the militia. Then they demonized us for doing the talk radio. I mean, that's as far back as Clinton saying that Bill Cooper was one of the most dangerous men in America, so they immediately shot him.
Yeah, that's they'd like to do that to all of us, but they can't. Not yet. Maybe down the road they might, but you know, if you don't stand for something, you'll stand for nothing, and that's where. And you got to stand for the right thing, and that's where I think the patriots are understanding. And more and more people are waking up, and of course Ron Paul has done a lot to wake up a lot of people, and it's not just Ron Paul. It's basically the message that he carries, and the message is liberty. And you know, you, Clay, have been a big part of waking up a lot of people. The radio programming on alternative radio to overcome the Clear Channel stations pumping out their propaganda.
And we have also pushed, by doing what I've done over the last 25 years, we've pushed the mainstream to the point that there's almost no need for a magazine now, because even the mainstream is telling you the truth about what's happening here.
Well, yeah, of course, they're still using the old 80-20 rule. 80% truth and 20% lies. Or 20% omission. To leave out the important part. And, you know, like, History Channel to me is a good example of, they'll go along there and they'll give all this story about this and this and this and this, and then right there at the end, all of a sudden they come along and turn it all a different direction, and it's gone, and all of a sudden you're back in the same doubting point that you started with. You know, and but all the promos, all the trailers that they put out beforehand, the programming, you think that it's going to be, wow, this is going to turn things around, this is going to change things, and you put hope into it, and then you find out, oh, well, they're saying the same thing that the government said. But anyway, it's a crazy world we're in, and we're in the best of times and the worst of times. So, and one of our real problems is that we cannot wake up the people that have some money. I mean, the elite, of course, they don't want to wake up, but there are a lot of business people that are out here that, you know, they can afford to drop $5,000 as a donation to Clay Douglas or to Truth Seekers or to whoever, and never even miss it. You know, $5,000 to them is like me giving $20, you know. But it just it's amazing to me that they are going to lose their freedom too. Their $3 million house on the hill that the bank owns, and their Mercedes or BMW or whatever, that they've got 3 of them, or different cars around, you know, and they, I cannot imagine that these people, as a matter of fact, during Hitler's time, those are the people that Hitler got rid of first. Those who could have influence with other people. So, you know, using Hitler as a pattern, we should study that even more. I need to study Hitler more. But find out what we can expect.
You can look at Barack Obama and his rise to power, using lies. Based everything he said to us was a lie, except that he's an agent of change. He told you he was about change. He told you he was a change agent, folks. And Romney is Mossad. Romney is nothing more than a Mossad. They know what's happening there. They fund both sides. They're funding the Democrats, they're funding the Republicans, and ignoring the Libertarians. They don't want you to think about the Libertarians. And I think you're right. I think the Libertarian right now is the best party with Governor Gary Johnson. And if Ron Paul would swing that way, I don't know if he will. If Ron Paul came over to the Libertarian Party, and he's always been a Libertarian, he's certainly got the philosophy down, it could swing this whole election. You got 40 million people out there that have been busted for pot at one time or another. How'd you like to have your rights back, folks?
Yeah.
You might have to cheat a little bit. There may be 40 million people out there that supposedly aren't allowed to vote because they had a little bit of pot in their pocket. but that doesn't seem quite right either. I mean, basically Ayn Rand had it right. She said, government has no control over honest citizens, so they got to make criminals out of all of us.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, it was a long, tiring trip. We made a one-day drive there and a one-day drive back from Austin to Florida, and it was a tremendous event. The loud music, it seemed like it kept getting louder every time they played at the Fall Fest. But and I think that even with the short crowd they had, one is the hurricane was threatening on coming in there, so that turned people away, I'm sure. And then the local newspaper, the manager at the motel said, well, what do you mean you're going to the Fall Fest? That was canceled. And said, well, here we are. We're here in our room. We're here to go to it, and we were there yesterday to scope things out, and nobody said it was canceled. So she said, well, that figures. The newspaper said it was canceled. I said, well, let that be a lesson, you know. The newspaper will lie or put out lies. And so anyhow, it did rain quite a bit while we were there, but not heavy like in New Orleans or anything like that. But we made it back. Minimal rain on Interstate 10. 10 runs most of the way, and we just made it on 10 and 12. We bypassed New Orleans and we went on back. But we had we feel like a successful mission, and doing what we could to help Ron Paul. And but we didn't really get into the events at the party. We did want to get some welcoming events, and one is it was raining then, and then there was a police with 200 police cars around there, but they didn't push us around. They didn't give us any problem. They were just there. It was like, I think, maybe a training mission, but I mean, it's like martial law.
Thousands of cops here. I just can't see the Republicans being that rowdy. Why would they need that many police? Right. And one other question for you: why are they issuing hollow points to government, or like land management or Forest Service? Why would they be doing that?
I don't know. Of course, their excuse up there is that they had all this security because there were anarchists who were planning on disrupting things, and told the Ron Paul people that they could not assure that we would have protection. You know, and you know, they just. So that's when Ron Paul canceled the, well, of course, we couldn't even get in there. They were to send 15 buses, busloads of people, delegates and people, down to the sports bar. And, you know, that's probably about 700 people with sending 50 people per bus. And it just didn't happen, and because of this disruption by the intelligentsia, you know, and they had their rumor that the anarchists were going to go down there and disrupt things, you know, and but anyway, they didn't appear to have Ron Paul's interest as a concern. You know, they were more interested in shutting everything down than they were trying to. They didn't try to help to have an event. If you're going to have an event, police are there, then they should help, right?
You would think so.
Apparently, that you think that they would, and they didn't. Instead, they said, we cannot guarantee your safety. Well, that's admitting defeat, right? Against one busload of anarchists. Now, we never did see any definite anarchists. There was a couple of people that walked into the fall event, the fall festival. One of them, there was 4 blacks, which I think that they looked out of place, and they walked in somewhere, walked around, and they were all carrying camera equipment. But I never did see any of them take any pictures. And one had a light bar, one had a camera, another had something, and they kind of walked around and